Yeah, on the issue of when it comes to revelation, when you're talking about special revelation, right? There's generally, the people refer to two kinds of revelation. There's general revelation, which is just the general things that we can learn about God, from creation. Romans 1 kind of thing, has been revealed to us. And then you have special revelation, things that you only know because thus saith the Lord. Here's the thing. Our sources of this kind of revelation are twofold. As I said, previous question, we inherit the Jewish scriptures. That's what Christ referred to. That's what he quoted. That's what he taught as authoritative. And then the revelation that we have in the New Testament is considered authoritative because of who it comes from. It came from those who sat at Jesus' feet, walked with him, lived with him day in, day out, or one step of separation, people they taught. Where could we possibly get any more of that today? We can't. That's why even the books that were, 200, 100, 300 years after Jesus, that the church, people would say, aha, here is new. And they're like, nope, out, gone. There were even books that people thought should be in the New Testament, and people said, oh, we like that book, but we don't know who wrote it. Gone. It's out of here. Right? Because it had to come from the authoritative source, and that authoritative source is done 2,000 years ago. There can't be new revelation.
Yeah. So I'll respond to this from kind of some of the stuff that I like to nerd out about. My master's degree at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary that I'm going to be pursuing in January is in apologetics, which is the defense of the faith. It's kind of why we're here to a certain degree. And part of what I study within that is studying Christian cults and world religions, which is where a lot of what you're talking about comes into play. There are two major components that I want to address as it relates to the additional scriptures. The Book of Mormon and the Quran. Both documents have very, very similar origin stories. There is an angelic figure. There are tablets made of some precious material, and there is some person who is called as a prophet to translate those tablets in some supernatural method. And then it is disseminated and changed over time over the first century and a half. The Book of Mormon went through several different editions. The Quran was not solidified, and even then there are still variants. The Quran was not solidified until, I believe, 1983. Don't quote me on the decade. I know it was the 20th century, and I'm pretty sure there was a 3 in there. But I think it's 1983. Prior to that, it depended on what Islamic community you were part of, what Quran you had. So the similarities between those two things. Now then, I am not a scholar yet. Hopefully God gives me the grace and I get to be called that one day. But I think the number of similarities between the origin stories of both of those documents and the practices of polygamy and things like that came about as a result make me seriously question as to whether or not they were both started by the same angel who appears as an angel of light but is the father of lies, the devil. When you look at the way the devil is described, twisting scripture, twisting the words of God, a lot of the things that you can find in the Quran and in the Book of Mormon, they sound scripture-like until all of a sudden they don't. There's just a lot of very eerie similarities with those texts that seem to match the attributes that the Bible as we know it ascribes to the way that the devil operates. And again, they have similar origin stories. An angel of light, text made out of precious metals, a prophet who translated those texts through some supernatural means. In the case of Muhammad, it was in dreams. He translated it in dreams and then came back with new revelations. It was written in Arabic, but he was still translating what was being said to people. He was telling people what it said, even though he couldn't produce the physical copies. And Joseph Smith used something called scrying. He was using something that's part of recognized occult practices to translate the tablets. So there's too many coincidences and similarities for me to have any confidence that those came from legitimate sources in terms of a supernatural being. There's too many similarities to the attributes of the devil for me to have confidence in that.
Hear my cry for truth, my cry for truth, my cry for you.